Hey, this is Notser, and this is the Lion. It's the Tier 9 British Battleship. And a couple things to note. It has the worst health pool at Tier 9 for battleships. That is equivalent to a Tier 7 Battleship Premium health pool. Speed's great, rudder's fantastic. 419mm guns, very usable, great rate of fire. Secondary range is awful, so I wouldn't recommend secondaries at all. Surface detection is best in class, 11.5. You're basically a super heavy cruiser. AA protection, it's really only good for personal defense. The long range AA bubble for British might as well not even be there. It's that bad. So since the long range is that bad, does that mean that manual AA is not good? No, it's not good. It's not good at all. So you're really limited in what you should build. You should definitely get concealment, which we did. That is by far the best thing that the British do, so you want to enhance it further. And then there's a real question about the next skill you want to take. Well, advanced firing training is a good, safe skill. People have suggested fire prevention, but it really doesn't feel like I gain a lot for 4 points that I spend there, you know? Having the extra AA protection will definitely give you a little bit more wiggle room. Right now, at its base range, I probably see 30 to 40% of the enemy squadron, equal tier of course, taken out. If I'm, targeting the right target, switching off immediately whenever they drop, doing what you're supposed to do. And I can also have my aircraft up to help me, which the Conqueror cannot. Conqueror does not have an aircraft. The aircraft is useful for spotting those torpedoes, seeing around an island. You just can't use that in the Conqueror because it's not an option, no matter what hull you equip on the Conqueror. So there is a little bit of a benefit to using the Lion over the Conqueror. It operates a little bit better around islands. I think that's fair to say. You don't necessarily mandatory take Vigilance, but I would highly recommend it because you take basically the most torpedo damage of any battleship. You're right up there with the Germans, and it's neck and neck for the most torpedo damage taken. It's really a big deal. On top of that, the health pool. Let's talk about that health pool. 67,900. That is awful. That's terrible. But if you're trying to deal with the Lion, you need to keep in mind that there is about 20,000 health sitting on a heal charge. You don't want to look at it and say, oh, it's only 67,000. That, my friend, is going to bait you into death. You need to assume it's 87,000 and have a plan to really push through that DPS requirement. If you cannot kill it on your own, he will outlast you and he will annihilate you. His heal is that good. I'm not even kidding. There might be an example in this game where I show just how resilient it can be when only one person is trying to work me down. Now, 419, that gun caliber, that's almost the highest at this tier, right? Only 420 of the Friedrich der Grosse is higher at tier 9. How does it work out? It works out pretty good. AP has a shorter fuse, which ends up being interesting, not for destroyers, because that's just, you still overpin that. But for battleships, you will find that you will very rarely overpin a battleship with your AP. Having said that, I would highly recommend you use HE more aggressively on the British, and for that matter, the Lion, than you would on something like, oh, I don't know, the Friedrich der Grosse, the Iowa. It's very competitive damage-wise. It's about half of the total damage of AP, which means that if you are interested in engaging a destroyer, for instance, and for those who don't know, HE will either shatter, do full damage, or do a citadel damage. When it shatters, it does 0 damage. Full damage, a penetration as it's classified, is 33%. And then obviously citadel is 100%. So you're most likely going to do 33%. Well, 33% is about twice as high as using AP against that same destroyer and having it overpin. So you should theoretically take half the number of salvos to take the guy out. Now, what if it sticks on the ship? What if it does? That's a big what if, right? I would not recommend assuming it's going to stick in the ship, because it's very rare that this will stick in the ship unless they make the same dumb mistake that they always make, you know. They go bow on or stern on. If they're broadside, HE superior against those destroyers. And if they're bow on or stern on, it's superior against those battleships too. Now I'm trying to run the hell away. I found the flank of the enemy, and they are, of course, pushing me all the way back. The enemy, Friedrich der Grosse, he is absolutely wanting to use the secondaries. He's rushing into me to keep me lit on fire, and he's just doing tons of damage. The entire ship is covered in 32 millimeters of hull protection. So it's very soft. The Citadel is difficult to get to, but it's very soft, perfect for that secondaries, the small caliber AP, HE, to actually do damage. And you really feel it. But look at this heal. Look how much we are storing up to recharge ourselves. And he's going to have a rude awakening if he doesn't consider that my heal is about to give me 40% of my life back, or 50%. You just have to prepare yourself that that's going to be a possibility. He's overextending for the kill. I'm trying to do my best to get AP on the broadside. I don't like to go anywhere close to the waterline. I just don't like it. I don't like it. I like getting mid-hull. Especially Germans. Obviously, the Germans, you're just never going to sell. If you rely on a Citadel, you're really relying on winning the lottery. It's not going to happen. So the better option is to maximize the shells that hit the target, plus or minus dispersion. And with the Germans, you can clearly see these shells will do good damage against the broadside. And this should be no exception. This should be high too. I mean, 10,000 per salvo, I will take that every single day. It feels really, really good. The velocity of the British is the lowest, but it's not by much. It's not like the Minotaur versus the Moskva. It's more in line with very competitive, just slightly slower. Slightly more lead you would have to give in order to really maximize it. Nothing that you can't do. Nothing to make you say, man, it's just a waste firing at max rate. No, nothing like that. So, the Friedrich der Grosse clearly realizes the error of his ways. However, he has pursued too much, and he's going to be taken out. And that's the real kicker. The Lion and the Conqueror, and for honestly, most British battleships really love going 1 versus 1. They will take you to task every single time. I've played 3 through 10, 3 through 8 get the Warspite heal, 9 through 10 get the British cruiser heal, and every single tier feels like they heal for a ton. And I do mean a ton. I have maximized so much potential damage on the target that, you know, quite frankly, it feels like I'm cheating at times. But clearly I'm taking more damage on average than a German battleship or a Japanese battleship or an American battleship. Now, the enemy team does have 2 bases to our 1, but, you know, just gave ground and we delayed their advance. And since it was really 1 versus 1 at any given moment, I wasn't overwhelmed and I didn't die. But you could imagine if another ship or 2 more ships were assisting the Friedrich der Grosse, I would basically be dead. I would be overwhelmed with the damage output. I would have to make a split-second choice to use a heal in a suboptimal situation, and then he could follow up and kill me in the cooldown cycle. It was very close to a situation where 1 more ship would just push him over the edge with fire and flood. So people were like, you know, why don't you take fire prevention, Notser? I just don't see the benefit. There's not a lot of times where I'm taking more than 1 fire. And if it's 1 fire, especially on the British, just let it burn. You've got more than enough heals. More than enough heals. You really want to be very greedy and only use it onto Only use it when you know torpedoes are a possibility. I have felt like the Flood is something that's very devastating because it just sticks forever. And without that damage control, man, you're just going, you don't have the health pull. It ticks so hard, and you're missing 20,000, 15,000 at this tier. It's very noticeable if you're overwhelmed. But if you're left to 1 versus 1, man, the Lion is better than anything else. Same with the Conqueror. Honestly, same with all the Brits. I'm really having a lot of fun playing solo. This really feels like a solo player's battleship line. I don't have to rely on providing AA support to a teammate. I don't have utility like a hydroacoustic to use to spot torpedoes or around an island for someone else. It's really just me versus whatever target I'm going after. And that's kind of fun. Is it selfish? Yeah, sure. It's a change of pace. I wouldn't want to be this selfish all the time. But I'm really enjoying my time with the Lion. Is it as good as the Conqueror? No. You really notice the lack of 3 guns, which is fair. I mean, I think every single ship gets upgunned in some way from tier 9 to tier 10. The Iowa gets another gun turret going to the Montana. The Friedrich der Grosse gets more guns going from der Grosse to the Grosse Kurfürst. And then the Izumo, the caliber jumps up immensely to the Yamato. So yeah, we were effectively moving, forcing the enemy. He really felt like he had a chance to kill me, but he didn't. And that's partially because he's just not informed of the mechanics that exist on the ship yet. I'm sure if he were to watch the content or watch someone and research it or maybe play it himself, he'd be like, you know what? The worst thing I could possibly do is bait myself into overcommitting for the kill. And I find that a lot of people do that with all the British battleships. Even like a tier 5 Iron Duke. I was playing an Iron Duke game, which, by the way, the British battleships have great firing arcs. Very usable, very enjoyable. But I was playing the Iron Duke, and I was just giving ground. While the enemy was keep pushing into me, they would get me low, and then my heal would be available. And you know those Warspite heals are very useful. You feel like you're rejuvenated, and I could do that 5 times with Superintendent. I used every single charge, and I was pretty healthy. So, it's a trait that you need to get used to. Otherwise, the game might end very quickly for you, very quickly. And man, I've really enjoyed my time playing through all the British line. You will get a chance, if you're interested in playing the Lion today. The public test server should be live right now, 6:10. I'm going to have a video on it. It has new animation on fire and flood and explosion. Well, flood, but you get the idea. There's new graphical animations related to DirectX 11. Plus, everyone who goes on the server, I believe, will get to test the Lion. So, this is the ship you're playing. Good luck out there. You can use a fighter or a scout plane or the heel. That's pretty much what you can load on it. And don't use the 406s. They're not some side grade. They are absolutely a downgrade compared to the 419s. It is just a straight upgrade. But when you're playing the Lion, keep in mind, and when you're playing against the Lion, because let's face it, guys, everyone's going to be playing the Lion. Don't get baited in. They have 20,000 more health than you're seeing. Just assume that. If you've got 2 or 3 for a backup, you'll have plenty to take him out. He'll just be overwhelmed. If it's 1 versus 1, you really need to be extremely greedy with that heal. A Lion versus a Lion, it's basically who uses the heal last and who has it more efficiently, giving you more health. But I'm sure you guys are going to enjoy your first experience with the new British and the super heal. You've got the Warspite, you've got the Hood. Yeah, the Nelson's not out yet. You haven't tried it there. Obviously, the Conqueror's not out. So yeah, enjoy your time playing on the public test server with the Lion. I might be there. Granted, I might not be the Lion because I can play it all the time. I'm going to be more focused on seeing the new destruction animations, the new explosion animations. Yeah, it'll be fun. And in this game, we were pretty average, but our team did a great job. Look, there's about 6 players within 100 points of each other. Good team effort. I hope you enjoyed seeing the Lion. 1.4 mitigated. I hope you have a fantastic day, and I'll catch you next time.